The world, as I knew it, was a small picturesque town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. It was a kind of place where everyone knew each other's names, and secrets were hard to keep. I was Luna, a 17-year-old who, for as long as I could remember, had been the heartbeat of this tight-knit community. My life was an open book, one without any remarkable twists until that fateful afternoon. Jamie, my best friend since kindergarten, burst into my room with an excitement that was both infectious and alarming. Her eyes sparkled with a strange mixture of confusion and thrill as she blurted out, "Luna, I met your twin today in town." I stared at her, my brain refusing to process her words. "What are you talking about, Jamie?" "I'm an only child," I replied, a nervous laugh escaping my lips. The idea was ludicrous. In a town as small as ours, a secret like a twin would be impossible to keep. But Jamie was insistent. "I'm serious, Luna. She looked exactly like you, down to the freckle on your left cheek. She even had the same scar on her wrist from when we fell off our bikes in 3rd grade. Her description sent a shiver down my spine. It was impossible. Yet the earnestness in her eyes told me she wasn't joking. "This has to be a mistake," I muttered, more to myself than to her. Despite my disbelief, curiosity gnawed at me. The thought of someone masquerading as me was unsettling, but I needed to see for myself. "Let's find this twin then," I said, masking my anxiety with a forced smile. Jamie's eyes lit up, and we planned to scour the town the next day. That night, sleep eluded me. My mind raced with wild theories and explanations, none of which made any sense. The idea of having a twin was absurd, yet the unease gnawing at me wouldn't subside. I tossed and turned, the moonlight casting eerie shadows across my room, making the familiar seem foreign. In the silence of the night, my room felt different. I glanced around, noticing subtle changes. A picture frame on my dresser was facing the wrong way, and my favorite book was no longer on my nightstand. I sat up, heart pounding, as I stared at these minor yet jarring alterations. Was I losing my mind? The next morning, Jamie and I set out, our mission clear yet unfathomable. We walked through the streets, scanning every face we passed. The town, usually a comforting presence, felt alien, as if it were hiding secrets in its very foundations. Hours passed with no sign of my supposed twin. Disappointment and relief battled within me, but Jamie's determination didn't wane. She was convinced the twin was real, and her conviction unsettled me further. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, we headed home, our search yielding nothing but tired feet and unanswered questions. That night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "I know you're looking for me," it read. A chill ran down my spine. The message felt like a taunt, a shadow looming over my reality. Who was this person, and how did they know about our search? I wanted to believe it was a prank, but the fear gripping my heart told me otherwise. Jamie was asleep, oblivious to the late-night message that threatened to unravel my world. I lay there, staring at the screen, the words burning into my memory. A twin, a doppelganger, or something far more sinister I didn't know. But as the night deepened, so did the mystery that now enveloped my life. The next day, I awoke to a world that seemed subtly altered, as though it had shifted on its axis ever so slightly while I slept. The text from the unknown number lingered in my mind, casting a shadow over my thoughts. As I sat at the breakfast table, I observed my parents. They seemed normal, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that they were holding back something, a secret so deeply buried that it had become a part of our family's foundation. After breakfast, I approached them hesitantly. "Mom, Dad, could I possibly have a twin?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The room fell silent. They exchanged a glance that spoke volumes before my mother replied with a too quick, "Of course not, honey. You know you're our only child." Their words should have reassured me, but the fleeting look they shared only fueled my doubts. It was clear they were hiding something, but I couldn't fathom what it could be. Amy arrived shortly after, her enthusiasm undimmed by our fruitless search the previous day. "We'll find her today, Luna. I can feel it," she said with a conviction that both comforted and worried me. As we set out, the town felt even more alien than the day before. Every glance in my direction seemed suspicious, every whisper a potential clue. Our search took us to the local library, the park, and even the old abandoned house at the edge of town. The latter was a place of local legend, said to be haunted. As we approached it, a sense of dread filled me. The house, with its peeling paint and overgrown garden, seemed to watch us, its windows like dark unblinking eyes. "Let's look inside," Jamie suggested, her voice a mix of fear and excitement. I hesitated but followed her in. The air inside was stale, heavy with the weight of untold stories. As we moved through the rooms, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. My skin crawled, and every creak of the floorboard sounded like a whisper from the shadows. We found nothing, and as we left, I couldn't help but feel relieved. The house was a place of forgotten memories, better left alone. As we walked back through the town, Jamie talked animatedly about other places we could search, but I barely heard her. My mind was elsewhere, lost in the maze of my own troubled thoughts. That evening, as I lay in bed, another message arrived from the I showed the messages to Jamie the next day. She read them, her brow furrowed in concern. "This is getting serious, Luna. Maybe we should involve the police, she suggested. But I shook my head. The police wouldn't understand. This was something beyond their realm of logic. Days turned into weeks, and the search for my twin became an obsession. Items in my room continued to move, and the messages became more frequent, each one more cryptic than the last. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, each day blurring into the next in a haze of confusion and fear. Jamie, once my constant companion, began to drift away. Her belief in the twins' existence consumed her, and our friendship strained under the weight of the unexplainable. I missed her, but part of me was relieved. I couldn't drag her further into this nightmare. As I lay in bed one night, staring at the ceiling, a realization hit me with the force of a thunderclap. The twin wasn't just a figment of my imagination or a doppelganger roaming the streets. She was something more, something deeply connected to me. A part of me that I had yet to understand, a shadow self that had been with me all along, lurking just beneath the surface of my consciousness. I knew then that I had to confront this entity, this phantom twin of mine. It was the only way to untangle the web of fear and confusion that had enveloped my life. With a resolve that surprised even me, I got out of bed and prepared to face whatever truth lay hidden in the darkness. The days following my realization were a blur of anticipation and dread. I felt like a detective inching closer to the heart of a mystery that was as personal as it was perplexing. The cryptic messages continued, each one a breadcrumb leading me down a path I wasn't sure I wanted to tread. But I knew I had no choice. I had to face whatever this was. One afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows over the town, I decided to visit the old house again. There was something about that place, a sense of unresolved history that called to me. Jamie, caught up in her own theories and investigations, didn't join me. I was alone, but perhaps that was for the best. The house loomed before me, its windows like hollow eyes. The air was thick with the scent of decay and neglect. As I stepped inside, the floorboards groaned under my weight, echoing through the empty rooms. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light that penetrated the gloom. I wandered through the house, each room telling a story of a life long abandoned. In what must have been the living room, I found an old mirror. The surface was tarnished, the silver backing peeling away in places. As I gazed into it, I half expected to see someone else's reflection staring back at me. Instead, I saw myself. But there was something off. My reflection seemed to flicker, like an image on an old television screen. I reached out, my fingers trembling, and touched the cold glass. At that moment, I felt it a connection, a thread stretching back through the years to a past I had long forgotten. The air around me grew colder, and the room seemed to darken. I looked into the mirror again, and this time, I wasn't alone. Standing beside my reflection was another girl, identical to me in every way. My heart raced as I turned to look beside me, but there was no one there. When I looked back at the mirror, the girl was still there, smiling at me with a knowing look. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I'm what you've forgotten," the girl in the mirror replied, her voice a haunting echo of my own. "I'm the part of you that you locked away." Tears filled my eyes as memories flooded back. Memories of laughter and tears, of love and loss. Memories of a twin sister who had been my other half, who had died tragically young. We were inseparable, two halves of a whole, until the day she was taken from me. "I thought I lost you," I sobbed, my hands still pressed against the mirror. "You did. And in your grief, you chose to forget me. But I've always been here, watching over you, influencing your life from the shadows," she said, her eyes filled with an ancient sadness. "But why? Why reveal yourself now?" I asked, struggling to make sense of it all. "Because it's time for you to remember. To confront the past and accept it," she replied, her image starting to fade. As her form dissipated, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The truth was out, no longer buried in the depths of my subconscious. My twin, my other half, was gone, but she had never truly left me. I left the house feeling lighter, yet profoundly changed. The mystery of the phantom twin had been solved, but in its place was a new understanding of myself and the depths of my own mind. The days that followed were a journey of self-discovery and healing. I talked to my parents, who tearfully admitted to hiding the truth about my twin's death, thinking it would protect me from the pain. They were wrong, but I forgave them. We grieved together, finally acknowledging the loss that had silently shaped our lives. Jamie, seeing the change in me, reached out. We mended our friendship, stronger now for having weathered this storm. She listened as I told her the truth, her eyes wide with wonder and empathy. Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the experience had left its mark on me. I no longer feared the shadows or the secrets they held. I had faced my darkest memories and come out the other side. As I lay in bed one night, my phone buzzed with a message. I opened it, expecting the usual chatter from friends. Instead, it was another message from the unknown number, but this time it was different. "You found the truth, but remember, I'm always with you," it read. A smile tugged at the corners of my lips. The message was a reminder, not a threat. My twin, in whatever form she existed now, was still a part of me. I drifted off to sleep, comforted by the knowledge that though she was gone, her spirit lived on in me. The night after receiving that final message, my dreams were a cascade of memories, both joyous and sorrowful. In the dreamscape, I relived moments with my twin, our secret games, shared laughter, and the unspoken bond that only twins understand. I woke up with a sense of peace, feeling her presence like a soft echo in my heart. The days that followed were a mix of reflection and newfound understanding. I immersed myself in old family albums, tracing the contours of a past that now felt complete. My twin's face, once a forgotten shadow, now brought a bittersweet comfort. However, as the initial shock and grief subsided, I found myself grappling with a surreal reality. My twin, a part of me yet a distinct entity, existed in a realm beyond my full comprehension. The messages, the altered items in my room, the mirror encountered, they all pointed to a presence that defied logic. It was as if she lived in the liminal spaces of my existence, a whisper just beyond the veil of the physical world. Jamie, ever the believer in the unexplainable, became a pillar of support. We spent hours discussing the possibilities. Could it be a haunting, a psychic connection, or something else entirely? Our conversations veered between theories and memories, each of us finding solace in the others. As autumn's chill crept into the town, bringing with it the rustle of falling leaves and the smell of wood smoke, I felt a shift within myself. The fear and confusion that had once clouded my mind now gave way to a profound curiosity. My twin, or her essence, had chosen to reveal herself, to communicate with me. But why? And why now? I decided to return to the old house, the place where the veil between us had thinned. The house, once a symbol of fear, now held a different meaning. It was a bridge between two worlds, a place where I could feel closer to her. As I walked through its decaying halls, I spoke to her. I didn't expect an answer, but speaking out loud gave my thoughts clarity. "I know you're here," I said, my voice steady. "I feel you. I don't fully understand why or how, but I accept it." The house remained silent, but the air around me seemed to hum with energy. In that moment, I knew she was listening, a silent observer in my journey of self-discovery. The weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. Then, one evening as I sat in my room, a feeling of unease crept over me. It was a familiar sensation, one I had come to associate with her. I looked around, half expecting to see something out of place, a sign of her presence. But everything was as I had left it. I lay down, closing my eyes, focusing on the stillness. And then I heard it, a faint whisper, like the rustle of leaves. It was her voice, a soft murmur in my ear. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was comforting, like a lullaby. I opened my eyes, half expecting to see her, but the room was empty. The whisper faded, leaving behind a lingering warmth. It was a moment of connection, a reminder that though she was not physically with me, our bond was unbroken. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my lips, the whisper echoing in my dreams. The experience solidified my belief that she was still with me, in some form, watching over me as a guardian angel might. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. The mysterious occurrences became less frequent, but each one was a reminder of the extraordinary journey I had embarked upon. I shared my experiences with Jamie, who listened with wide-eyed fascination. We speculated and pondered, but some questions remained unanswered. As the anniversary of my twin's death approached, I felt a mixture of emotions: grief for the sister I had lost, gratitude for the connection we still shared, and a deep sense of wonder at the mysteries of life and death. I planned to spend the day at the old house, the place where the veil between us seemed thinnest. I arrived at the house on a crisp, clear morning, the air tinged with the promise of winter. The house, with its peeling paint and overgrown garden, stood as a testament to the passage of time. I stepped inside, feeling the familiar sense of connection. I wandered through the rooms, each step a tribute to her memory. I talked to her, sharing my thoughts and feelings, my hopes and fears. The house seemed to listen, its silence a comforting embrace. As I spoke, I felt the connection between us strengthen, a bridge spanning the divide of life and death. In that moment, I realized that our bond was more than just memories or a shared past. It was an unbreakable link, woven into the very fabric of my being. In the quiet of the house, memories flowed through me like a river. I remembered our childhood games, our secret language, the way she would laugh with her whole body. I could almost hear her laughter echoing through the empty rooms, a ghostly melody that warmed my heart. I found myself in the room with the old mirror, the place where I had first truly seen her. The mirror was as I remembered, its surface tarnished with age. I gazed into it, half expecting to see her beside me again. But this time, I saw only my own reflection. I touched the cold glass, tracing the outline of my face. "I miss you," I whispered, my voice catching in my throat. "But I know you're still with me, in some way." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the room, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I knew that while I couldn't see her, she was there, a part of me as much as my own heart. Her death had been a tragedy, but in its wake, it had left a connection that transcended the physical world. Leaving the house, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had come to honor her memory, but in doing so, I had found a deeper understanding of our bond. She was gone, but she lived on in me, her spirit a guiding light in the darkness. The days that followed were a testament to the strength of that bond. I found myself more attuned to the subtle signs of her presence, a sudden drop in temperature, a faint scent of her favorite perfume, a feeling of being watched over and protected. I shared my experiences with Jamie, who listened with a mix of awe and envy. "You're lucky, in a way," she said one day. "You have a guardian angel who's also your twin. That's pretty amazing." Her words made me smile. Yes, it was amazing, and while it was a connection born of tragedy, it was also a source of strength and comfort. As time passed, the occurrences became less frequent, but each one was a reminder of the invisible thread that connected us. My twin was with me, in the whisper of the wind, in the flicker of a shadow, in the quiet moments of reflection. I often returned to the old house, our sanctuary, where the veil between us was thinnest. It was there that I felt closest to her, a place where I could talk to her, laugh with her, and remember her. Life went on, with its joys and sorrows, its triumphs and challenges. But through it all, I carried a piece of her with me, a silent companion on my journey. As the years passed, the memory of my twin became a part of the town's folklore, a story whispered among the youth. But for me, it was much more than a story. It was a reality, a connection that defied explanation. I grew older, but the bond between us remained, a constant in an ever-changing world. In moments of doubt or fear, I would feel her presence, a reassuring touch on my shoulder, a gentle whisper in my ear. And so, my life continued, a journey marked by an unseen bond, a connection that transcended the boundaries of life and death. My twin was gone, but she was also always with me, a part of my past, my present, and my future. As I sit here, writing this, I know that she is with me, watching over me, her spirit intertwined with mine. And in that knowledge, I find an unending source of comfort and love. The story of my twin, my phantom sister, is one of loss and discovery, of grief and acceptance. It is a reminder that love is a force that transcends even death, a bond that cannot be broken by the past. And as I look to the future, I carry her with me, a guiding light in the darkness, a whisper in the silence, a presence in the emptiness. She is gone, but she is also here, forever a part of me.